that one's going now.
Oh, it's Kevin.
Whatever.
Have you tried to buy
It's Monday.
Yeah.
lately? First of all, 2.3.
All right, you do, you have the add-ons?
Well, I know what they
You
are.
guys ready? We'll wait for Kevin. You want to call the meeting to order?
My God.
I know what they are.
All right.
Welcome. You know this guy?
No state tournament game
He
tonight?
looks vaguely familiar.
Vaguely familiar.
That's a good win the other day, huh?
So you can't get any ammunition for anything.
Had they played them before this year?
It's pro shop.
Oh, yeah. It
I know
is.
Webster Street.
Nice to beat the town next door, huh?
That's continuous, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're continued.
You know, if I were
So,
smart,
should I wait for Frank, or you want to
$4.
start going? All right.
What do we
All
get?
right. Welcome, everybody.
You have to
just-
amend for that, and discussion of that anyway.
All right. And then Penny has an addition.
I have Conway Trails and Storm.
Conway School.
Okay, you've got Conway.
Something else, whatever the trails.
All right, so we're going to call the meeting to order. Town of Scituate Conservation Commission.
Okay,
And
I'm
add some, did you like that?
That's good.
Oh.
That's a nice opening.
Nice choice.
So we need to amend the
Like the
agenda.
music?
Yeah, if Saturday Night Fever or something. So we have some amendments to discuss.
Yes,
to the
I'd like
agenda.
to, amend the agenda with the Conway School report. And the trails off of Bates Lane. And a small discussion on storm damage.
All right, so storm damage, the brush on the trails off of Clap Road,
Right.
the Conway School, and this also has seawalls and 17 Revere CFC. We need to add 17 Revere Street, Certificate of Compliance.
The sea walls, I was not privy to.
Yeah, I don't
That would be
know.
under storm damage.
Okay, that's fine.
In 17 Revere Street's certificate of compliance, do you have that ready?
There's
Or we're
three
just gonna
different,
talk about it?
three different files. Yeah, there's gonna be a presentation from Bob Crawford.
Okay, so, somebody want to second the agenda as amended?
Have you finished it?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we'll start with the RDAs.
Yeah.
Is that fine with everybody? On March 4th, 2013, during their 6:15 PM meeting at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of the Town of Scituate DPW for a determination of the applicability of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to improve the Peggotty Beach parking lot on property located at 22 Peggotty Beach Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Sean McCarthy with the Department of Public Works Engineering Division. Before you this evening is very similar to what we did in the Minot Beach parking lot last fall. There's a portion of paved parking, as you know, in Peggotty, and a portion that's gravelled. Our proposal is to bring in some gravel to increase the grade of the gravel lot. Continue the slope the way it is now, however, try to elevate the gravel lot out of the daily flood zone. So when people do go to the beach and they return to their cars, it's not surrounded by water. There's a natural low spot, I guess you could say, as down by where we propose the hay bales that the tide enters daily. Comes up the 9, the 10. So we propose to leave the existing pavement the way it is. It sheds from east to west, so from the existing houses towards the gravel. That'll remain the same. We'll pick up the edge to the west and grade it towards the pavement to keep that channel and flow away from the existing homes and down to the existing ditch that's in the marsh today. There's a good 2 to 3 foot berm that surrounds this lot to the west. I don't know when that was put there, just over the years, if it's been from storm cleanup or what have you, but just like in Minot, there's a significant berm, not a small bump, but a good 2 to 3 foot rise, so none of our runoff will run off into the marsh. It'll run back towards the paved area and channel its way to the existing ditch. We are proposing some hay bales till this is stabilized. We didn't have any erosion when we did this in Minot last fall, brought in the material, graded it, rolled it. It's actually held up pretty well, even with the kids trying to do what they do in the parking lot. So right now, the existing pavement will remain, and we'll just clean up and grade, raise the grade, and smooth it out, the gravel portion to the west.
Could you clarify one thing for me, Sean?
Sure.
You're gonna raise the grade, so you'll still have the little channel between the gravel and the hard top of where the water can come in and out? Is that what you're saying?
No, it won't creep up so far into the lot. By picking this grade up,
Okay,
it'll tend to stay down here in this lower portion and not travel all the way
Okay.
up to the far end of the lot. We'll be filling, I guess, the northwest corner,
okay.
and continue, the grade will go this way. So we may get some extreme high tides that come in just in this low spot here, but for the most part, we eliminate the dips and the low spots up here where the tide comes in and then it recedes, the puddles stay.
Okay.
This grade will come up here, but it will still shed. Yeah, it won't shed this way, towards the existing
If
homes
there is
on the
any
road.
shedding from real high tide, what you're saying, you'll go.
It'll back out the way it came in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine, I was just up there, I like the idea.
Yeah, we're not disturbing anything that isn't already gravelled. The limits are the same. It's kind of a lack of maintenance,
Area's a little
really.
bigger right now from all the pushback of the,
I haven't been over there this last week, but yeah, I know there's been some cleanup going on, and yeah.
a lot of it.
No, looks good, no questions.
So you're not taking up any hardtop?
No, not with this. Maybe some broken up pavement up in this corner, but the existing straight line, it'll be more to clean it up. It's kind of busted up, and I don't know if there was more that's been removed over the years, but this small little bit here will probably be taken up, and we'll have a straight line.
And what will you do with that small area?
This here, gravel.
Just-
Yeah, no, pavement won't go back, yep. It's just to create a smooth grade. We don't want to create a bump and work around the bump, yeah,
Okay,
by leaving it.
thank you.
I have one question. I just wonder about the amount of fill. And it's not that I'm opposed to this idea at all, but it's in the 50-foot buffer to the salt marsh, I'm guessing. I think the bylaw says that we're not allowed to fill over a certain amount of square feet. I mean, if it's in the if it's in the buffer, maybe it's okay. I don't know if it's.
Pre-existing.
I know
Disturbed?
It's already disturbed and all of that, but we've said.
Last year, the parking lot down Minot, that's all in the buffer. The whole
Yeah.
parking lot's in the 50-foot
It
buffer.
is.
And we did let them raise that up to.
Very similar.
Mm-hmm. So what,
Do you remember, Stephen?
It's more of a maintenance issue. I think.
Right, that's what I was gonna say, it's a
Okay.
grading and
That's fine.
existing parking lot, yeah.
why can't we just put a berm around the whole thing? Instead of filling it in, why can't we just keep the water in the salt marsh, or is there any, I'm just wondering, is there any, like, long-term, it's great if we grade the parking lot, but we all know that the water's gonna come over Peggotty Beach and wash through the parking lot at some point, so whatever we put in the parking lot has the potential to end up in the salt marsh. And so what I'm wondering is just there any way, would it even be more cost-effective just to build a bigger berm? To keep it in the salt marsh instead of in the parking lot?
Well, right now, I think the berm that's there, we're not grading any higher than what's there. So
Okay.
what's in this corner, if it does come from the east to the west, I don't think we'll overtop the berm that's there now. I think it's a good idea, maybe in the future, if they wanted to look into this, because you'll be working closer to the salt marsh if we start to put a berm on this southern end. It would take a little more looking at, I think to.
Yeah, well,
to-
you just mentioned
you
it
wouldn't
to
wanna-
your boss, that it might be
Absolutely,
something to
yeah.
think about. Is there any way that we can do this so it gets us 50 years instead of 25?
Yep.
15, is there another angle to look at it? I'm just
Mm-hmm.
curious because we know the water is gonna come through there.
Mhm, from
And
the
it's
beach.
From
Yeah,
the beach.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's gonna wash some of that out.
And you also don't want to trap it either by
Well, that's
berming it
my
and
other
creating
concern,
a.
is there
That's
an
right.
exit? You said that
Right
there's
now,
an
there
exit.
is, yep.
It goes
And there will
back
be.
out.
That's right.
Right, so if it comes over, it can still get out that same way,
Right, when it recedes.
when it
Yep.
recedes, yeah, okay.
I don't see any signs of it continuing through. The berm that's there isn't eroded, or, do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
hasn't tried to work its way through there. If it does puddle, I think it recedes back out the same way we're gonna send it,
Yeah,
the way it always goes. I guess if you started to berm it, you may have to look at drainage improvements, more catch basin structures,
Mm-hmm. yeah, I mean,
or
in
things
which,
like that.
in long-term, that wouldn't be a bad thing, to have some sort of riprap or something that the water runs over, so
Yep.
it doesn't go as quickly.
Yep,
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, Sean, I had a few questions. Is it, you basically fill in the low spot, most of the fill gonna go in there, it's not gonna be throughout the whole parking lot, or is it?
it's just the gravel area. The significant filling is where that tide comes in every day, around this 10 contour, so to speak. That'll come up to 11.
Most of the fill is in that area?
Is in the center, right here, yeah. There's a little bit in this far corner, still not topping the berm by any means, and along this back edge. And we couldn't go high because we have to maintain the grade on this side of the pavement. And if we go any higher here, now we start to shed the water across the pavement. We have to take the pavement up that's there to prevent that from happening. So it's about as high as we're gonna go without looking at big picture with drainage improvements, well, significant drainage improvements. I think it's,
There's an abutter on that side too, that's at a fairly low elevation, right near where the pavement is there.
on the corner,
Yeah.
this
the
is where you
first-
come in and
yeah,
the pump station's right
Yeah.
here for the sewer.
Like the first one on the left there, so.
Yep,
You know, we don't wanna increase any kind of, flow toward her, so.
right, no, and they're up at 13, and we're not grading as high as 13, so it'll continue to run that way.
And it's all gonna be gravel, it's not any kind of process.
Correct, right, yeah, not the wrap, the bituminous
And it's
byproduct.
in the AE, it's not in, there's an area of velocity on the lot. Let me see, as you come in and you're working your way to the left,
It's in the velocity, yeah, the AEs don't start until you start to get up the hill.
right. So the fill and the velocity is, I mean, there's a good chance that get moved around, so.
I think, well, the velocity, I think, is coming from the marsh side, not so much the Peggotty Beach side because of the height of the dune that exists right now. So we're not changing I guess, the way the tidal waters move, not an AE, not with a flood elevation, a steady depth.
Is this something that's been done from time to time? Is this like an ongoing?
I don't know if any improvements have been made to this. Only been here for a few years now.
In 25 years, there haven't been any.
No.
I thought
yeah.
they gave up after 78, isn't that the
No.
history of it?
You know,
91, they did.
91.
when the parking lots get real bad, and that's what happened down mine, if that was a disgrace. And we did that last year. So this one's a disgrace now, so it's
I
not-
think it's, like Steve said, it becomes a maintenance.
Yeah, it just
And you
isn't
may-
something that's constantly done.
You may see it annually without a significant quantity of gravel, so to speak, more of a fine tuning, I don't know, or every 2 years or something like that,
Yeah.
without
It
the
did look
significant
similar
filling.
to the Bailey's Causeway, the parking lot up that way.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Except for the quantity of fill, that was a 2 or 3 inch.
it actually wasn't a whole lot more, actually, it was a good foot in the back corner,
Was it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly like this, in the far corner from where the water drained and mine it as well. Yeah, maybe 14 inches.
Anybody in the audience? Mr.
The only thing I can see with that is that I would be cautious with number one, Steve Bjorkman,
Sorry.
Excuse me. Having the cleanest gravel that you can put in there, because the biggest issue is gonna be siltation, and possibly having some filter fabric remain for longer on the downhill side. So when you first put it down, you're gonna get the most amount of silt out of it.
Mhm.
So you wanna watch that for a little while, and I think once it's settled, it's gonna be okay until the storm comes. If you get a major storm, it's gonna go anyway. But that'll certainly give people the access that they need.
That's a good point about the silt, though, because we don't want to pay to dredge the harbor again, because that's where it's all going.
Yeah.
I make a motion for a -3.
Second.
This should be
3 and 2, or just
3 and 2, because
It's
it's
the
in a...
area and the work of both.
Okay, so 3 and 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if it's going to be as successful as they think.
Temporary.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta fill them.
I know, it's a Band-Aid.
But, you know, it hasn't been.
I think it
A
would be
lot of
cheaper to
times
put in a
the
sign
storms help.
that said, "Watch out on a moon tide."
Yeah.
Don't park your car here.
But, you know, sometimes the storm comes in from the end.
I know.
On that beach? What I Dean doing there? You should see the way they're tiling it up there.
All right, so we have Hand at 150 First Parish Road, the wetland delineation.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Maravito from Ross Engineering Company, representing the owning applicant, Susan Hands. We submitted the study, I think, back in January. Patrick went out and looked at it. He asked us to have the inland bank in the riverfront, which we did. We should have a revised plan. There's a revision date of 14th in the upper left-hand corner. And the locus. But what we're asking is that the commission confirm that the plan, and the ADW, which is just in from the rear property line, and also the riverfront, the 200-foot riverfront from the edge of the inland bank that's out in the swamp. These were flagged by Brad Holmes, and it's included in your packet, a copy of the report. The area where the wetland is an existing lawn area. But some of it is within the wetland boundary.
Penny?
At the last meeting, we had asked some of us to go on that site visit. We still wanna go, we still want to walk the property. So I don't, you know, I don't.
Is that it? Yeah.
I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I know some of us at the last meeting wanted to go on it, to walk the property, especially the back line there. It didn't happen.
Did anyone go?
Yeah, I think with the amount of visits last week, that all the visits that needed to be done didn't get coordinated with everybody, so I apologize for that if, I ended up going out on Friday with Brad, but just because of the amount of time it takes to do all the visits, I was running around, I didn't know that would be a big deal.
I stand corrected, we filed this on the 19th of December, and we were asked to postpone it. Two reasons: one, you had a new agent coming on, we put it off for a month. Then you had the blizzard, and then he wanted to walk it with Brad, which they finally did last week after the snow was gone. You know, Mrs. Sands would like to, your preference is to have the commission close the hearing tonight. She's been waiting for this, and she needs to move on with her estate planning.
Is there a reason that this is an ANRAD and, as an RDA and not a notice or an ANRAD?
Yeah, we had talked that you're allowed to do a delineation under an RDA, and I had written to Paul and to Brad that ordinarily an ANRAD would be the best way to have the wetlands delineated. In this case, it's along the edge of a lawn. It's a real simple review. And as far as the riverfront area, we just took a walk out and did a measurement off there. But for a subdivision or anything like that, it would require an ANRAD. Single-family lot where it's a pretty straightforward line, we're allowed to do an RDA. We didn't need to hire another consultant to go out there. So.
And you did walk it with them?
Yeah, I've been out there a couple of times. The last meeting too, it came up about the soils in the back area where the lawn is. And, you know, a long time ago, lawn was created on a wetland area. So we went out there and we did a bunch of soil augers last week. And it's wet, but it's mixed. It was all disturbed soil. And it all falls within the buffer, so there's not gonna be any construction or any septic or anything in that area anyway, so. So the wetland line is good and the riverfront line is good.
I guess my point only is that we did ask that we could go out with people when they went out, and that didn't happen, and that is, I think, upsetting, at least for me, because I would have liked to have gone out with Brad to review the situation, but that wasn't done, and that's upsetting.
Is there any, in ANRAD, similar, we're gonna if we close this, then we'd have a decision at the next meeting? Or is there any need
It's
to?
an RFD.
RDA,
isn't it?
Or are we just done?
RDA, yeah.
Are we
Yeah,
just
there's
done?
no orders
Yeah.
or anything.
right.
Well, it certainly hasn't been easy to do this for the last few months.
Oh, no question.
You know,
No
for both
question.
sides, for us and for some of the applicants. And if Pat's been out there and feels that it's,
Yeah, there were,
It's
there's
accurate.
probably 30 to 40 site visits last week, so I try to include everybody as much as possible, but, you know,
well,
I can email you on every visit in the future.
I think we should know, and then if
Yeah.
we want to be there, then we can be there.
Oh, yeah.
If nothing else for education purposes, because that's how I learn how the wetland lines are done.
Yeah.
Is by watching when we're in the field, what they talk about. Otherwise, I mean, you or Paul's word is just as good, to be honest with you, because, I mean, I don't, and if I don't see it, I don't get to look and hear what the guy says.
can I, if you're defining this line, and if a change is made, you're gonna have to come back with a notice or something anyways.
Well, the only thing this application does is to confirm the line. If they were to do more work out there, they'd have to file a notice of intent, because the RDA doesn't allow them to do work.
And, well, no, if that's not true, if we find that there were things that were not correct, then you most certainly can.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
because that was my concern,
If you go out there and find that there's something that's inaccurate about this line,
even
and,
though we
and
accept
there's
it.
information that's not, that's right, that's not true on this line, then you could overturn that. So it's not yet like it's your last swipe at it.
As long as you're sure.
Do we have a letter from Brad that agrees with this line?
Yes.
Yeah,
He
he's,
submitted a report in your packet.
he did soil, there's a soil, DEP soil form in there too.
So the only, have anything after November 21st?
Well, that was the line we ended up confirming. So the original flagging and the original soils, that's what we went out to check on, so.
And why did you get a revised plan?
Because the riverfront wasn't flagged at that point. The original was on the bordering vegetated wetland, and, you know, we pointed out there's a river in the back, and we wanted riverfront on there too, so.
There's quite a bit of information there.
Mm-hmm.
We give you the same information that you see in a standard NOI.
You're still the boss on this one.
Oh, all right, well, I'm personally, I'd like to give our agent the benefit of the doubt. He saw the site. If he believes the line is accurate, that's where I'd like to go. I mean, if we have a vote, I mean, if we have a majority vote, then we have a majority vote to accept it as a -3. If someone wants to make, and
It wouldn't be related to work, it would only be related to resource area, so whatever that is, 3 or 2. It's not both though.
I'll make a motion to accept this as a -3 or 2. You sort it out.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, whatever the one is for area.
I've second, Carol.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Richard?
Aye.
That's 4.
Sorry about that. Never take the last doctor's appointment.
Yeah. All right, so we did the DPW RDA. That was -3 and 2.
Okay.
So now we're at the wetlands hearing.
Perkins, 309 Central Ave, septic continued. They need a Board of Health hearing. They requested a continuance for 2 weeks.
Do you realize how long this has been being continued?
5 months.
5 months?
Yes, September
We
17th.
haven't even seen them.
Have we gotten any correspondence at all?
Requesting continuance.
So they have.
But you had to call them, didn't you?
I did call him.
Yeah, they didn't call you.
No.
No, that's what I'm saying, it's like.
Did they give us any feedback on where they were? Or
No, he.
who's the
I
engineer?
said they might close it and he.
Oh.
Grady.
Huh.
He didn't.
But they do have a Board of Health hearing coming up, I think.
No.
So put it out a month.
Okay. I make a motion to continue. 309 Perkins, Central Ave to April 1st. 6:30.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is it Oshclan?
Olson.
Olson. I ruined that one before. 24 Webster Street, raised burn dwelling rebuild. And they're requesting a continuance to 3/18. And that's the one that you guys went out to?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you talked to them today, did you give them a kind of a grocery list of all our concerns?
Yeah, I
That
said-
it isn't a easy slam dunk.
Right, right. I told them that, you know, after the fire, people had some understanding that it's not gonna be, you know, like a brand-new lot. There's gonna be some things that can remain, but there were a lot of concerns about how the water flows around there, the foundation, retaining walls, what's gonna be filling in where the basement area is. And then, you know, we had talked about getting Neil Duggan's input because, he'll need to tell what type of pilings and all of that. So I said, rather than come in with another plan that hasn't been discussed in the field, maybe we could go out there and meet in the field. So us, Neil, and their architect, so that when they come in with the next plan, it's something that satisfies everybody. The other issue is the slope coming from the seawall back to the, and then whether pavement needs to remain under, you know, above the septic and all those kind of things. So there were so many open questions, I said, you know, why don't we hold off, have a discussion, and meet on site. Now, make sure you get the,
Yeah.
all the information
Well,
when the
it's
site
just,
visit.
when you go out there, Frank, number one, there's still all the rubble, so it's kind of like you.
Well, that can be part of the orders to remove all the,
No, I understand.
But they need a grading plan, because they've
But-
got
but-
Really need a
foundations,
grading
retaining
plan.
walls, it's all stair-stepped.
And they never addressed how many, they said the wall just behind the patio, where the wall goes straight across, and there's a little grass area, I mean, it is,
There's 3 different pieces of wall,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
in my opinion, the asphalt has to go, because the way it's, if they do a grading, everything goes through to the river. So you want stuff that's gonna soak in, you don't want it going through the
Right.
river.
no, I think, I agree with that. I mean, we had that discussion with them. Obviously, it wasn't by choice that they're doing this, but still, they have to meet performance standards of that piece. And I think that's important to express to the engineer, because she was sort of giving us a little bit of a blank look, like,
What are you
I'm like,
talking about?
they're
There's a
they're
lot
on a
of
Barrier
issues
Beach,
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
and they have performance standards, and, you know, obviously, it's an unfortunate circumstance. And if there's some leeway, maybe they can do some things with pavers and,
Because the other thing is, Frank, when you get out there, you see the fourth house that burned down, they've completely cleared that. So that's all level, and that's a good 4 feet below the front that they wanna keep. And, it's like the grading is really a major issue, because we don't know what that one's going to do, but the lot is cleared. So we can't have water rushing, you know,
Right.
being forced over into this other lot. And, yeah,
Okay.
it's not an easy one at all.
so you've got that.
Yeah, so we've emailed Neil and Carmen and Mr. Rockwood, his
Yeah.
first name, so that we're all gonna meet out on site. And they're hoping they could do it by the end of this week, so that they would have a week then to put together a plan to come back in on the 18th.
Okay,
So-
well, that'd be good, you know, and just let us know the last minute, Pat.
Right.
A lot of us are right here,
Right.
you know, not doing anything.
Yeah, I think right now, we're just seeing what Neil's got for a free schedule, so we can get a couple times from him too.
Thursday or Friday would be best.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to.
Well,
continue.
Just one moment.
Yeah,
You said so they could do it, prepare it the following week, so it'd be in time for the meeting. It
We'd
won't be
need
here
it-
7 days before the meeting.
Right, we'd need it before the meeting, right, yeah.
but it has to be 7, it's major,
Okay.
to give us, you know, enough opportunity to look at it
Okay.
after being out there. So I don't even know if they
So Thursday.
would make that, but should I still put it on for the 18th? And
Well, I think, you know, just if it's within a day or so, and we're the ones that push it to the end of the week, I think you have to be a little bit reasonable. You know, if,
I'm willing to be reasonable, but I wanna, you know, like I said, I think there's a lot more issues.
and maybe they'll have to continue it again. What I'm saying is that if we push them to the end of the week
To go out there.
to get out there, then if they give us the plan, if they do their best to get the plan in and we have 5 days,
That's
then
fine.
we can work, you know, I think we
Yeah.
ought to be able to work with that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right. I mean, it's both sides. It's gonna get really busy, you know, that storm, there's a little bit of lull afterwards while everybody lines up their ducks, but
yeah,
The CAD systems.
Carol's
are
done this before. It's not gonna get,
no.
it's not gonna quiet down for a while.
Okay, so I make a motion to continue, 24 Webster Street until March 18th at 6:35.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Butler, 439 CJC, septic repair, continued. You get the okay from the Board of Health?
Yes, we did. Let me give you a quick overview of the plan.
Sure.
Is that the latest one there?
This is revision 2.5. 8.25.
So I submitted one copy of a revised plan today, and it showed the Board of Health revisions. The only Board of Health revisions were you raise the elevation of the tanks by 2 inches, and I showed a dimension to Tack Factory Pond. So other than that, the property is 439 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. It has frontage on 3A, and there's an existing dwelling. There's a lot of lawn area, and there are 3 cesspools located here, and the property slopes gently to a wetland resource area that Steve Ivis delineated, and that goes to Tack Factory Pond. So we're proposing to install a new Hoot H600A treatment tank, a pump chamber, and a leaching field, which will be elevated to provide treatment prior to reaching the groundwater table.
Who brought, was it Greg that was here the last time on this one?
Yeah, Greg presented it the first time.
So we didn't have any issues other
No,
than Board of Health?
We were waiting for the Board of Health.
Pat?
Yeah, I just had a question on the Board of Health waiver in the drinking water supply area. Did they bring that up during the discussion and say that it's usually 200, but, you know, you can't make it 200, so you're allowed to do it within the 100 foot, at the 100 foot?
I didn't have that discussion with
Okay.
Jennifer.
'Cause I think that was the issue too, is a tributary to the water supplies.
Yeah.
But on a replacement, it's possible to get a waiver.
I think in this situation, we've put the system as far away from the wetland. We're not asking for any groundwater separation, so there's 5 feet between the bottom of the leaching field and the groundwater table. And kind of as an added, we're providing a treatment tank instead of a traditional septic tank.
How high is it out of the ground, the system? Is it?
The existing grade there is 43-ish, and we're coming up to 48.9. Right at the highest point.
5 feet.
Yeah.
I make a motion.
Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion to close.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Supposed to, or just close,
To approve it? We,
Well, it's closed.
Yeah, close it.
yeah,
Well, we close and then we award it.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the revised copy, so it's not,
Right.
Yeah.
it's, okay. I mean, it's the standard orders as far as erosion control and, I mean, is there a way to close and issue on a septic? Because right now it's cesspools against the drinking water supply, and we're gonna put in kind of standard conditions in there, so.
for a septic, I'm not opposed to that idea, honestly.
No.
Carol doesn't have them ready.
Oh, but we
think
wouldn't
that's-
sign them tonight, so.
Yeah.
But
There's something that we could think about.
yeah, that's not a bad
Well,
idea.
for some, yeah.
Yeah, for
I
some.
don't think she's in a big rush.
We do have,
Yeah.
we do sometimes though have like,
Order's ready.
well,
because
but
we
with
know.
the septics, we have asked them to move it sometimes or turn it or
Right, right. And a lot of times based on what the
lawn
Board of Health
clippings or
says.
something in the wetland, you know.
'Cause what, you know, what,
We should give Carol a heads up and she has the orders ready.
Yeah.
You know, on something that's simple. I don't think we just thought about it.
I think
Yeah.
if you guys are gonna have that ready as an office for something standard as a septic system, I think everybody here would probably be
Be great.
willing to
speed things
agree
up by
to,
a couple of weeks for
the applicants.
Have the, have
Especially
the
for
orders ready,
septics.
and, I mean, we'll
Right.
debate it if anybody has any reason to debate it.
Let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Steve?
I've just commented that a lot of the times, with my history being on there, they don't get the answer from the Board of Health until
Yeah,
like today.
after.
And then Carol's gotta scramble for the meeting anyways, if she has to start doing orders at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets pretty difficult in the office.
Well, if it's ever logistically possible, then it would be, I don't think it would be a
Right,
deterrent
if it comes down to the
negative.
day of the meeting, it's not enough time to do it.
Right.
We have tried that in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we have.
Don't lose this one, this is your. your
Where do we
recap.
want that to go? Fox Run 2, Realty Trust Costello, 29 Long Meadow Road. On March 4th, 2013, at 6:45 PM, the Town Hall Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of Fox Run 2 Realty Trust, Leo Costello, trustee, to repair a septic system on property located at 29 Long Meadow Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
All right, for the record, Jeff Hassett with Morse Engineering. This property is 29 Long Meadow Road. It's located at the end of Long Meadow Road on the cul-de-sac, and it's approximately 17 acres in size. So we do have a sketch showing the entire property, and the area we're proposing to work is closer to the cul-de-sac. The back portion of the site is, portions are developed with farms and a couple large barns and horse stalls. So what we're proposing to do is some work in the front portion of the property for a septic system design. And the septic will service an existing dwelling and an existing barn with an apartment. And the only portion of the work proposed within the 100-foot wetland buffer is the septic tank and the pump chamber for the barn and apartment. And that will pump up to a leaching field. The leaching field is a geoflow tube system, and the house will flow by gravity to it. So the leaching field is entirely within an area that's currently lawn, and so after construction, we'll re-loam and seed that, and then the tanks are in an area of gravel driveway, so that will be restored with gravel. And we're proposing a straw wattle along the limit of work, and that will keep any sediment from migrating into the wetland during construction. Any questions?
Penny?
No, it looks fine to me, it's out of all the buffers. Richard?
I'm good. Am I right, the house is almost across from the barn? It's actually off?
Yeah, the house is here,
Okay.
and the barn
I'm
is
sorry.
here.
There it is. I got it. Okay.
You come
Sorry.
in this way.
Yep. No, I was up there. I just lost my bearings. No, I'm fine
Yeah.
with it.
What does the, it says underneath existing dwelling, it says existing dwelling to be deed restricted to 2-bedroom capacity?
That has to do with Title V, and that in order to keep it as a repair and not new construction, you can't increase the number of bedrooms. So they're deed restricting the house to the number of bedrooms allowed.
So they've decreased the number of bedrooms in the house so they could,
Yeah, and that's something in order for Jennifer at the Board of Health to sign off on the final as-built, she'll need a proof that that's been recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Wow,
But it's 6-bedroom now?
that's what it says, yeah.
Yes.
we
It's a
we
huge
did that.
house.
Yeah, we had to do that in Marshfield, though. We added on another big addition, but it didn't change that. And so I think actually
Wow.
Greg did that, and they record this order, and it works, it's okay with, works for the Board of Health.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anybody, Paul?
No questions.
Is that wattle long enough? I mean,
Is what?
the straw barrier, is that?
Oh, the silt barrier, does that contain everything, Jeff?
I think it'll contain any disturbance from the tanks. My thoughts were, the field is so far away, this disturbance, that I didn't think we really needed to extend it any further. Leave that up to you. If you want to extend it a little bit, that's fine.
Maybe, what about some, just the silt fence, like at the 50 or something like that, just to keep them from moving,
Yeah, we can do that.
or 100
Or
or
if we-
someplace?
If we just extended the straw wattle to here, another 50 feet, then it actually, that would capture any runoff.
Okay.
That would be fine. You're the boss on that one.
Yeah. No, that, Pat?
Yeah, I think that'll work. I think the system's a great upgrade over what's currently out there. The only comment I would have is over where the 50-foot no disturb sign over there, and maybe down the driveway a bit, they've cut a lot of stuff and placed it in the wetlands. So maybe when they're out digging the leaching field and the pits, they could drag some of that stuff out of the wetland. There's a lot of debris and brush out there, so I would recommend adding that as a condition on this. It's also an area where they've, use a lot of old ground up asphalt and filled areas. They shouldn't go any closer to the wetland. It may have been there for a while, but it's pretty close to the wetland.
Yeah.
Fouled up there.
Okay.
Do we have any, are there any signs or anything on this site to stay out of the wetlands? Do we have any,
I think it's pretty obvious when you're out there, once you hit the tree line, once you hit the stone wall or the tree line, it becomes wetland.
but they have done a lot of, as Pat points out, there's been a lot of different activity out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty isolated area. I mean, a lot of stuff could have gone on out there.
People have a tendency to throw stuff over their stone walls.
Yeah, that's what.
We found
there's
that
a lot
on
of
some other
stuff.
properties, yeah.
I mean, it's an opportunity to get some of it cleared
Yeah.
out of the way.
Did you ever, speak with Mr. Costello and Mr. McLaughlin about, what's the name of that road?
Oh, Ingrid Lane.
Oh, is this the same person?
Yeah,
Oh, I spoke to his partner then. Spoke to
Yeah.
The other guy.
but have they come in with the stuff that we asked for?
They came in and they wanted to walk the site and they wanted to do it after daylight savings, because they couldn't do it till after 5, I guess, so that'd be next week sometime. Does that connect to this property here?
It's
or-
across the street. It's not connected to it, but it's not far away.
Okay.
We've been looking for that other stuff for a long time. I mean, not that this has,
The piles of dirt near.
yeah.
Yeah, it's next week is when they wanna do it, so.
Yeah, we changed time this weekend.
That's a trip you guys ought to take.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Steve?
I just wanted to comment that Mr. McLaughlin's having some serious health issues, and he's in the hospital.
Okay.
He may be for some time.
All right, but Leo is
If
around.
you wanted both of them,
Well, we don't need both of them. We need
One.
somebody, and we've been dancing around that for quite a while. I spoke to him, I called him, and he was gonna have Leo get in touch, so.
You're talking the one off Hadley Road.
Yep.
Yeah, out there, deal with it.
Oh, that's that.
Okay. So, anybody else? I think that we should add some posts or something with a wetlands mark, or just something to clarify.
Cedar posts with. the-
Yeah, something.
Go on the orders.
Just where would we want to put those?
Probably right along the wetland, because there's a lot of grass and developed area here. So
Well, they're supposed to stay 50 feet away, or,
Let's post them on.
but I mean, I don't want to be in
if
the
they're in
middle
the
of the
middle of the
lawn.
lawn, they're not gonna do any good.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe at the edge of the lawn, just no disturbance beyond this point, even though it's up pretty close to the wetland.
I would think probably a couple right here, right at the stone wall, and then maybe a couple here, right at the point of the wetland where
Okay.
there'd be potential for encroaching.
All right.
And let the client know that they have to stop dumping over the wall.
Okay.
All right.
Propose we close hearing?
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
There isn't a number yet, is there, from, I didn't check.
No, there wasn't one.
Well, do you have the board of health yet, either?
They have approved, yes.
If we can get some of those plaques too, no disturbance beyond this point, and, they can get, cedar posts, sink them, and they could get them from us, so we could.
Yep. Well, if we get them, we can just get paid for them,
They
reimbursed
pay
for them.
Yeah.
Mark 'em up.
Yeah.
So you want posting and something on the wall,
Yep.
and anything else?
And extending the,
Just so I,
Extending the,
extending.
the silt barrier.
Don't
Okay.
forget when the orders come out.
Blueberries are on sale this week. All right,
Okay.
so do we want to take care of some orders or conditions? Hurley, 55 Seaside Road.
I make a motion to accept them as written. I thought they were done great.
Second.
There's some interesting things at the end, you know.
Okay.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bartlett's Field Trust, Booth Hill and Thomas Clapp, wetlands delineation.
I make a motion to accept that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Certificates of compliance, 16 Alden.
Did you go out there, Pat?
Yeah, this is the one that had the closing last week, and I met them on site, and, there's a few things that, you know, you really need to continue and take care of. I think the site looks good, there's not gonna be a lot of harm, but there is some changes from what the original order was. A few more plantings need to be made. Some of the elevations are higher, but then they made them lower in another spot, so it may be, you know, a wash, but, I mean, you may wanna take a walk out there. I told them that we'd talk about it tonight. We got the report from Bob Crawford, and
That guy?
that guy there.
That guy.
And there's several things that are in compliance, and there's several that are close, but they're not done, so, you know, we can see how you wanna handle this. Let's see.
Are they gonna finish them up, or what's their?
Yeah, this is a brand new homeowner, and, you know, they're willing to do what they need to do. It's, this is open for a long time. I don't know, do you wanna add anything on that one? This is the Alden Road one, where there was some yews that we're gonna be planting, and a couple of things.
Well, I didn't think there were any yews being planted. They had a row of yews along the easterly side
Yeah.
when I was there, whatever it was, 10 or 15 years ago. And some of them have died apparently. The ones that are there are not in very good shape, I didn't think. They're somewhat overgrown and not trimmed, but three on the northerly side, they appear to be fine. The lawn was kind of sparse. It was kind of hard to tell exactly what was growing there actually because of the time of year. And the retaining wall had been pushed over about 2 feet and the driveway widened. But they left it as sand. They didn't pave it. They did resurface the driveway and extend it, however, probably, I'm guessing, 25 feet in the southerly direction. I wrote a letter with all that stuff enumerated on it. I don't know if you want to go over it item by item, but those are the things that...
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we should go out and take a look, and then...
And the people that were purchasing the house, they were aware of all these issues.
Right.
So it's not gonna be a surprise.
Right. Their attorney had contacted the Realtor who contacted me, and she said, oh, is this gonna blow the sale? And I
Sounds
said,
like a straight story.
Yeah, right. So, the usual last minute thing, so we said, well, it won't get taken care of, you know, before the closing, but we're not that concerned. There's some things that will have to be done, but they're not, you know, anything major, so.
25 feet of drive.
That's
Did
a
you
lot.
say 25 more feet of driveway?
I thought it was square.
It's only the length of this
Yeah.
room, Penny.
I know. All right.
I thought it was like
This
25
is
square
big.
feet. I think
Yeah,
it
but
was
this-
a
that road isn't that big.
driveway.
I don't know how they're gonna,
Well, maybe it wasn't 25, but I would say it's at least 15. I have a picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
That parking area is.
Well, the good part is that the new owners were aware of this issues before that. So if what we what we come up with, it's not gonna be a surprise to them. I appreciate Mr. Crawford's letter. I mean, he put something pretty concise together for that property, so.
This is where they had the board on the ocean side, at the base of the piles with like a little top on the top of it. Is that what I thought I read that in there. Is this the same property?
Yeah.
No, I
This
don't think it
one's
is.
back from these.
Oh,
from
this
yeah,
the-
this doesn't go on to the
Oh,
beach.
this isn't the-
This is behind the
This
beach.
is down the other side.
Oh, this isn't Jen's Banks
No,
property.
no.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no.
This is Hummer.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
Alden
Hummer.
Street. Oh,
It's too
oh,
old.
Alden
Right.
Road is
Yeah.
where Jen's Bang was. Sorry. Oh.
Okay, so we won't be signing that tonight, in other words?
No, I think we could, see what we'd like to have as mitigation, ripped out, and then write them a letter and have them do it.
Okay.
Bob's letter had a lot of detail, we could just follow that.
Yeah.
85 and 89 Nibwood Foster Road.
Yeah, the older house had a porch and a patio put in several years ago. These are on the left as you go out Edward Foster, looking at the harbor. So the old house was done a long time ago, and that one's all set. The new house is still under construction. It's in the right location, it's on concrete pilings, but the person is refinancing, so the bank is asking for a partial certificate of compliance. So, I think Paul Maravito was involved in this, but they put in the roof drains into the ground, the house is located, but they're supposed to do some plantings out closer to the salt marsh. That hasn't been done, hasn't been seeded. Erosion controls are working pretty good, but, there's no as-built plan completed yet. So I think, I don't know what has been done in the past when a bank has asked for something. In another town where I work, we used to just write a letter saying, can't issue a certificate of compliance, but at this point, things are looking like they're moving along. We don't have any real concerns, but there are some outstanding things to do. I don't know, the bank might say, no, I want some kind of certificate of compliance, so. But it's not ready for a full one, that's for sure.
Yeah. That brings up an interesting point that Todd is saying a lot, and I think we should probably, the planting should be done first, so they have time to, because most of our plantings, it says they have to have 2 growing seasons before you can get your certificate of compliance. And this would be like a prime example of when they first started to build, if they had done the plantings on the marsh area, we'd know by now, because
I kind of thought we had asked, honestly. I mean, I'd
I
have to
don't
look at the
know on
orders
this
and see if it's in
particular
there.
one,
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, there are quite a few plantings on this one. The thing too is if you're ready to issue a certificate and the only thing outstanding is the 2 growing seasons, you could issue it but take some money in escrow so that if it doesn't take, then you have the money to replant it, but they could be clear on their title anyways.
But sometimes it does take a while,
Yeah.
for them to get going and get the things.
Right, the
built.
majority of these, though, aren't a problem with the rules, they're a problem with the people ignore the whole certificate of compliance until they wanna sell the house, and then they're acting like a victim when they are the ones who created the situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't get too upset.
Right, that's true.
I don't think we should sign off on any of them unless they're done. But a holdback might work if it's a question of.
I think if it's a matter, sometimes, there's a construction loan that's it's gonna convert to a mortgage, and if the bank's attorney is holding back until that's done, then I think Pat's solution is probably a reasonable.
Right.
Yeah, write the letter and see what
Right.
happens.
Okay.
That works most of the time, but then there are other ones that really hold tight and say, I want a certificate. And then we do a partial, and it's not much different than a letter, but sometimes they want that, so.
Well, why couldn't you do a partial? To just go straight to the end result. I mean, wouldn't that be just as easy as writing the letter?
Yeah, it's, if you read through and it says a certificate of compliance, there's a whole definition of what that is. Partials are kind of invented by commissions, I think. I don't think there's anything in there about.
Right, you're saying it's half done, which
Right.
means it's not done.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we've done a lot of partials. It
Right.
has.
I put on the partial for refinancing purposes only.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would work.
Mm.
I know, both of them are saying, you're not done yet, and we're still looking for something, right, either way, so.
Just seems like that would be easier.
Well, but you do you appreciate the pickle that some people are in, but how do we
Yeah.
work with that?
Some-
I think Carol's thought about, that's the rationale for doing it, but it's either one, whichever. Steve?
I was just gonna comment, this particular one, I actually went in the hallway, and Paul asked me if I would speak when this came up, if I had the opportunity. This is not a house that's being sold to somebody else. It was constructed by a family member. And it is a financing issue where he's got a rate that's locked in. And they did have a chat, I think, with the attorney for the bank. And he was not looking for a letter. He was looking for a partial. So it's actually the certificate itself, which just needs to say that the house was constructed. And that's the condition, that the house was constructed. They're aware that they have to do some grading and they have to do some plantings. And then after the 2 growing seasons, they'll come back in for a full certificate. So they're aware of exactly what the situation is.
But maybe what Pat's saying, you know, a little, hanging on to a little bit of dough is all the more
Well,
incentive
I think that's a good idea.
for
because
people to get it done.
Sometimes, yeah, you do them the favor because the bank wants it. And we might never see
No, you'll see them in
again.
15 years when they wanna sell the
And no
house.
plantings, they've satisfied the bank.
I might just suggest that this already has the order that says that they gotta wait 2 years before they can get the full certificate. So if in the future you wanna change it and have an escrow account set up, I don't think people would have a problem with that, but with this one, to get the money and tell him he can't get it for 2 more years, doesn't make a lot of sense.
So the bank would go along with the letter saying this is a partial certificate?
The certificate itself that says partial on the certificate, I think is what they're looking for. Not just a letter from Scituate Concom, but the certificate.
Because the
of
structure is the
compliance.
big thing for the bank.
Correct.
And the structure is finished.
Yeah. Yeah. So if that's the case, I think that way may work better in this case, you know?
With
If
Carol's,
that's-
with
if that's-
Carol's
Yeah,
memo.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. It's not to slow anybody down, it's just to do it the way that works for whatever you need, like whatever a builder needs, either way.
Okay.
But we'd like to get some too.
Right, and well,
The
we definitely
completed
want the
project
plantings,
someday.
right.
Yeah.
want the
Right.
plantings, right.
And this is going pretty quickly. They just started this house. This is the Doherty house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they're moving pretty quickly. It's just the season, when spring comes, you'll have it finished.
Right. Okay. So we have a motion for partial.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 21 Ann Vinyl Road? What is that one?
Oh, that's the one with the sewer connection, am I right?
Yes, I saw this one yesterday, so I haven't been out there, but yeah, Carol described it. It was a sewer connection that had been done a while ago. And, was there a planting thing that was left on that one, or there was something?
There was something that I wanted you to look at the
21 Ian.
plan for.
Yeah, it's
the asphalt.
down near the intersection,
Which one?
Captain Peter?
going towards Won't School, Captain Pearson and Vinyl.
Okay.
Okay, it's down there, it's, if you're coming from North Situate, it'd be on the right-hand side. Do you remember it's a small gate, it's like 3 houses up or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were buying it, but the septic system was no good, you couldn't put one in, so they gave them, the selectmen let them hook up
Okay.
to the sewer.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So it's all done?
Yeah, I guess so, except, did they do any plantings out there like this?
Yeah, I just heard about this yesterday, so I don't know anything
All
about
right,
it.
so we'll hold up on that one, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait.
But the rush, Carol, were they looking to,
Everybody's in a rush.
It's automatic.
well, I didn't know if they had
One
some
from the
bank
other.
issue or something.
They just bought that house, you know?
All right, so,
I don't think it's that old, really.
Well, I know the people buying it, the sale depended on them hooking up to the sewer, and it wasn't that long ago, so. All right, moving on.
Oh, I left the file in there, because
all right, this,
That's okay.
they.
somebody's got to take a look at it before we issue it anyways.
Yeah.
541 Hadley Road?
Steve Lynn gave us a letter stating that the work had never been done.
I'd say no.
It was the septic, and they never did the septic.
Oh,
Oh.
I think this is one where they're now gonna tie into town sewer. They originally had a septic
They are.
approved. The guy moved out of the house and recently sold the house. And they're just waiting to tie into town, waiting to tie into the new line. So they didn't do the work, they didn't install the septic system.
So we can't give them a.
So you can't give them a
No
certificate.
work- No work was complete.
Yeah, and that's
So
all.
that's been, and that's been done in the past too. No work was done under that original order.
So what do they want us to do?
You basically do a certificate that says no work was
Yeah.
undertaken
Oh,
under the
oh,
order.
Right, because if you recorded an order of conditions, and, yeah.
It's dismissing.
Okay. I guess we could do that one.
That's what we- Those have been done. in the
Okay.
past.
Blocks on the
Yeah.
form, yeah.
Motion,
I make a motion to sign the certificate of compliance, 541 Hadley Road.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
63 Glades,
63 Glades is all set. They have been done for a while. This was Merrill put in a septic system, and it's, it has to pump up to the front yard right on Glades. So the leaching field is in the front. It had been cesspool, and they needed to remove a small underground oil tank in the yard. So they've done that. Everything looks fine.
okay. Motion,
I make a motion to sign the certificate of compliance for 63 Glades Road.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
17 Revere Street,
Yeah.
I knew you weren't just lurking around.
Yeah. We need help on this one. We need Bob.
Basically, this property has 3 open orders of condition on it. The first one is for a septic system back in 1995. I became involved in it in 1999, and the issue at the time was that I believe the commission had a problem with retaining walls that had been constructed out there, and apparently the people modified the parking area in the driveway so that they could park a motorhome or a trailer of sorts on the westerly side and the front area for parking cars. I did a grading plan to straighten out the situation at the time, and it was made a part of the order of conditions, but nothing was really spelled out as to what was supposed to be done. Basically, the initial order of conditions for the septic system, there's an as-built plan that was done back in 1995 by Stembeck and Taylor, stamped by David Primer, indicating that the grading and everything was done in accordance with the original orders of condition. So I don't really see why that can't be closed out. At the time, they did, at some point in time, a shed was placed on top of the leaching area, and part of the work that was to be done when I did this grading plan was to move the shed off of the leaching area. At the time, the commission did not object to the shed because they would have said so and had me take it off the plan at the time, I believe. The subsequent owners did move the shed where it was supposed to be, and they did do the grading and the plantings along the westerly side as the plan had presented. They did not do the grading in the driveway, however. That came about when the second filing was made, and the second filing was for 2 decks along the northerly side of the house. One of them was a second-story deck, and the other was a first-story deck with an extension that went down the easterly side with a couple of landings and a shower there. All that work was done in accordance with the plan. But again, the grading for the driveway was not done. The third order, I don't really see that there's should be any issues with that, was for a porch to be constructed on the south side of the house, and that was essentially done exactly in accordance with the plan. The only thing is the landing at the entrance was a little bit, maybe a foot difference in size, and there were 2 steps, one on 2 different sides, where the original plan showed 2 steps all on one side. So basically, in my mind, the commission should be concerned with the grading in the driveway, in that it is graded to prevent breakout of the leaching area, and currently it doesn't conform to Title V because it's an abrupt vertical wall. It could also be corrected by adding a breakout barrier where the wall is, but it would mean taking the wall down, putting the barrier in, and then putting the wall back up. I don't know how the commission feels about walls, but the other issue is to just put the fill back in there that was there originally and grade it. It wouldn't present an impediment to parking cars. It would just mean a little bit of a steeper slope in the driveway. Try to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
No, it's, so they have to do the grading before they get their certificate.
Well, there was something too about the size of the deck, and one of the comment letters, it seemed like the deck was quite a bit bigger than it was supposed to be, or the porch. It's like-
No, but everything is built in exact,
Oh, okay.
the only difference in, the second-story deck is slightly smaller, like 6 inches or something, but other than that, it's exactly in accordance with the plan.
I thought I saw in one of those letters that it was 5 feet or 8 feet larger than it was on the original plan, but.
No, it
But
was,
sounds like the grading is the big issue for septic.
right.
Get the grading.
So what they did, looks like at the head of the driveway, they built some planters out of retaining walls with some stairs, and you're saying that should just be sloped.
Right.
Right, they dug the
Which
driveway
order
down
is
to
that
grade.
under? Can we approve the
Well,
orders for the
the
decks and
slope,
for the porch?
the driveway,
or-
apparently, if David Primer, like I said, did this as-built drawing for the Board of Health at the time that the septic system was put in, and he shows the fill as having been put in. So somebody must have taken out at some time and constructed the walls, because they were not shown on his as-built.
So,
So,
sounds like we should issue certificates of compliance and an
well,
enforcement.
that, yeah, I think the first one and the third one,
Well,
there isn't any issue with.
Well, I guess we don't have any proof that they actually did fill it, though. I mean, we don't know that they
Well,
actually
other
graded it.
than, you have an engineer's plan with a stamp on it that
Says they
indicates that it
did
was
do it.
filled.
Right.
Now it's gone.
Right, so we have an as-built for the septic.
Yes, I
So
included a
generally, we
copy
would
of it there.
approve, we would give a certificate if they had a correct as-built and it said it was done right.
Right. So we can't give them a certificate of compliance because it's not built right.
So they need to fix it and
Well,
then
it was
comply,
built
and then
right.
we give them the certificate of
It was, but
compliance.
it
Was.
isn't now.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
if you keep the second order open, which relates to the grading plan that I did
Okay.
in 1999, that is not complied with. So, I mean, you're covered as far as that
You
grading.
should have got this
With the
certificate of
second one.
compliance when it was right.
Well, just like that other guy we had in, who then went and did all the other work.
Right.
They were trying to sell the house, and it's like, yeah, if you had done it, then that work wouldn't be an issue now, 10 years later.
We wouldn't even know about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should we wait until they grade it to
Yeah.
give them?
Yeah.
Well, we've got 3 separate orders, right?
Yes.
So that's why I asked which ones could we sign?
Well, I think you can, if you close the first and third,
That's what I thought.
the third one was completely complied with because there was no mention of any of this stuff in the third one.
Okay.
I think in the future, it's a good idea to get sign-offs before you issue more, because
Yeah. The original
it
one,
just
yeah.
creates problems.
Because it was beyond the 3 years. You know, the 3 years.
Okay. So a motion to,
I make a motion to accept the orders of 1 and 3,
Well, yeah, you have the file numbers.
first and third,
Yeah.
first and
They
third.
go way back.
yeah,
Oh,
and that they need to correct the situation in the driveway before we issue them for the second. Which
that's-
must have been the
Can't
septic.
we identify them by the date?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
do
well,
that.
you-
95,
they each have a separate
Yeah, we'll, Carol and,
file number, so you
Pat
can
can get that.
address them by file number.
Right.
okay,
Somebody want to second
Second.
that?
all in favor?
Aye.
What did you say?
Don't worry about it, Tony, it's okay. Pat and Carol know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, they go back 20 years. The first one was like 20 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, 18, yeah.
5.
Oh. Wow.
Okay.
Thanks
Right.
for coming in. Bob.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you.
Crawford.
I'm gonna explain that.
Wow.
I
Yes, I did.
don't have them ready to sign yet, because Pat didn't think we were gonna issue them.
Okay.
Which
So I
is
can
fine.
come in and do it while you're scabbing or something.
It's been 20 years.
Are they doing something, are they selling? She's selling.
Yeah, they have a passing on 15,
Oh, okay.
and your next meeting, I guess, is on the 18th.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's see if we can get them afterwards.
Excuse me, the realtor indicated to me that, just tell me what to do and we'll get it done, so.
Okay.
All right.
The owner, the current owner, there's been 3 different owners in this process too. The current owner wanted me to submit it and asked the commission to accept it the way it was. I did what he asked.
Okay.
But we're not.
Anyway,
All right. We'll get a couple of them signed and,
yeah, okay,
all right?
thank you much.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
Right behind you.
Yeah.
Street away from
I
you.
can't believe the banks overlooked those open certificates all the time.
What else do we have? Do you have
Administrative stuff?
Yeah, there were,
Yeah,
um,
we got a lot then.
a lot of the tree issues that we had talked about. Frank and I did a site visit up on Clap Road for some trees that were down, and then the homeowner got back to us, and he agreed to take down a couple of the trees. They had fallen from conservation property over a wall onto his property. So he's gonna go out and cut them with a chainsaw by hand and pull out 3 trees. We gave him the okay to do 3 trees.
There's a couple of good-sized pines that got uprooted and they fell onto his property, but his property is still a wetlands. But these just things are just laying everywhere, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we were there, there's a small trail that was built along with Whitcomb Pines. When they built Whitcomb Pines, we had a condition that they create a walking path that goes from the town forest and it comes out on Clap Road. And so when Pat and I were out looking, this is right adjacent to where that trail comes out on Clap Road. It's just, there's a little sign marking the trail on Clap Road. There's no parking or anything, but, if you were at the town forest and wanted to take a stroll through there, you could, or hopefully it'll be a path that,
So he cleared that.
so, no, he just, this was right alongside his property. The town has conservation property in back of this.
Right.
And these large pines were on the town's, but right along the edge of the stone wall. So they toppled into his property. So he wants permission to cut them up. But again, his property is also a wetlands. So we agreed that they could cut them and just pile up the branches and
Leave it.
just leave it and not be
No
doing any stumping
no
or anything.
Yeah, no big equipment out there, just chainsaw and pull out.
So it seemed reasonable. But when we were there, there's the neighbor to the right, and probably not, this is a fairly new owner, so it's probably the owner before him, has been piling up all their brush in this walkway that goes into the property. And I think we probably want to just send them a letter notifying them that that's town property and it's also a walking path, and that they shouldn't be placing their brush
Keep it clean.
on there.
We have a nice place for everybody to take their brush.
Well, you don't have to go all the way from the west end, all the way down.
Oh, Lord. I mean,
And we're all in favor of some brush piles for some critters to live in and all that stuff. We just don't want them,
At the right
Actually,
point.
there's a
yeah,
we just
Or
don't
there's
want
a
them
wetland.
in.
slash pile, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
I think I think the DEP has regs on, you
Yeah.
can do some
Right,
slash pile.
but this is on the way that goes into this trail, and so it's just in the wrong.
well, you're talking about trees. Yeah, what happened with the fellow from Ewing Road? Remember the fellow all the way down the end of Ewing Road? He wanted to cut the trees, he had a fence up and a swimming pool. He was down the bottom and he wanted to come in through the wetlands with equipment, and we told him he couldn't.
How long ago was this?
That was a while ago, but
About a year
anyways,
ago.
he came in to the office last week and was telling Pat how mean we were, that the tree fell down and we wouldn't let him cut it. It's only one tree, cause I drove down there later. What happened with
I was
him?
out there Friday, and it did come down, it did take
Yeah,
his
it did.
fence down, and it didn't land in his pool, but it was pretty
No.
close. But he had told me the plan was originally gonna come in from the abutter on the back, and that's all wetland. I said, you know, you can't do that. And he pointed a few more that he thought might fall on his house, and I said, well, you know, if you wanna take this one here down, you can take it down. If you wanna do any more, you're gonna have to come back to the commission, because he's,
Well, we had said to him, you know, Pat, at the time, you can't come in through the wetlands, and he was the one that didn't wanna remove his fence
yes.
and come in that way.
Right.
Well, it's all set now.
Yeah, it is, you know, it's
No, no,
like,
yeah.
we gave him an option,
It is a wetland too.
cut something that might fall, but he didn't want it that way, he wanted to come in through the wetlands.
So I told him, have the,
Things have a way of working
company have
themselves out,
come and
don't they?
get in touch with him, you know, and then if he wants to take a bunch, then he has to come back to the commission, you know, and file.
Yeah, and
you
he's
know.
gonna have to come in
Yeah.
through his
Yeah.
yard.
It's not a big area of fence, he could
It,
get
it
in that way.
really
Yeah.
isn't, it
Take
would've at
a
least.
crane.
Whatever.
Okay.
Okay, I was just curious what happened.
You know what they say?
Curiosity kills the cat, and information brings her back.
I never heard that part.
Well, that's because you listen to the whole saying. I know them all.
No, she's dead.
No, I'm not yet. Hey, I'm still kicking.
All right, what else?
Well, we have about, I'd say, 15 letters from people who live along the beach who have asked to, you know, put the sand and the stone back on the beach. So they are starting to follow the instructions of DEP. So we tracking these letters, and we're gonna batch them and send them into DEP. They have until the 22nd to complete the work, but a lot of them did exactly what they said they were gonna do. I went out there on a few, and they looked like,
That's great.
yeah. they
I
were
think if it's
saying-
made simple, so people can
Yeah.
just go and do that part, you know, as long as they don't take it as an opportunity to
Right, right.
overstep their bounds, that's good.
Yeah. Then the enforcement, oh, go ahead.
On that goes into what I wanted to talk about on the storm damage. Remember when we were out there Thursday and there, this is just like a question, because I don't know if we have any right or not. But remember the walkway, the cement walkway, that was this thick, that had fallen apart, and one was leaning like this, the other one like that. Now, I'm just wondering, do we have the authority to ask them to remove it, or are they gonna put it back?
Well, they're really gonna kinda have to, because once you undermine concrete,
Yeah, well, that's,
you know, and all the fill is gone, and the slabs are all toppled,
yeah.
you know.
So what do we do about that? Do we do anything, or do we
If
just
they don't
leave
come
it,
to,
the mess there?
right, well, they're gonna probably clean up their yard, but,
They're gonna clean up the yard, but you have that walkway, which is not walkable.
right,
And
they're
it's-
not
That'll
gonna
be
leave
part of
that.
the cleanup.
danger.
You're right, they're not gonna leave it there like that, I guarantee you.
So is your question, can they put a new one back?
Not without coming here.
Yeah, well, let's see if they come and see us.
Well, they may not.
You know.
We'll
That's
have
all.
to- We'll
I'm
have to
just-
have some
Right.
spies out.
Well, 'cause
Yeah, you know, they got a
those
walkway
big
next to the
nuts.
house behind the seawall,
Yeah.
and the ocean came over and undermined it,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's all.
It just fell
top.
apart.
So you
Kenny
know,
was much better at explaining.
probably the
all
best,
that.
the best thing to do would, did you just pull it all out of there and, you know, grade. But who knows, they may try to, like, you know, lift it up, fill and lay it, but it's just gonna break again, because now.
I mean, it's really
It's not
broken.
even on stable ground anymore.
No, it wasn't. That's
No.
why I was just wondering, you know, do we have any?
First part's 1
set-
foot up, the second part's 4 feet up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
little bit by little bit, Mother Nature's gonna,
Oh,
Well, right now, it was interesting. All right, I just wanted to throw that out there, because I think it
been
should
caught.
be removed.
Did-
but-
should people have submitted by now for work that they wanna do under that, or if we got a little more time, or?
Supposed to let us know by March 1st,
Okay.
so,
in
and the work
phase
has to
four.
be done by the 22nd, so.
Except the stuff for Pete Spencer, who can have a little more time, cause he's in
He's
Florida
so-
right now.
Yeah, he's so busy, yeah, I know. People are asking, well, what if the contractor isn't free until after? I said, well, call us toward the end there, we'll see what we
Got
can
him.
do.
Suggest getting a new one? Poor Pete.
Well,
Is he
Uh,
back
it-
yet? He's back.
yeah, I think so. No, everybody, but it is, you know, it's a shame, because now everybody's got all this stuff that they gotta try to get done. And, you know, the other part is, we're not out of the storm season. So you go straighten everything all out, and then it gets beat up again, but you can't let it go on for too long, because,
Did anybody go on the town's website and look at the slideshow that Brian Stewart put together?
no,
It is phenomenal. There's hundreds and hundreds of pictures. You just go to the main site, and up in the corner, it says you can click on for the slideshow. And the pictures, he did the whole town. All beaches, all
Wow.
the way to Hammerock, he did the inland.
It's really
Then
good.
he came back afterwards.
And it's on the town website?
Yeah, it's on the town website. And then he
Make
came
you some popcorn tonight
back
and
and
go home
did
and
the,
watch.
Right.
during the cleanup. I mean, it was
Yeah.
phenomenal. I couldn't believe. Hundreds of pictures.
Wow.
They're very good. It's worth you viewing
Put a
it.
book together too, there's a book floating around town hall with a cover on it and the pictures from the storm, everything.
They should sell it so it gets some money back.
Huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
That's good that it's been recorded.
The enforcement order, we haven't heard back, this is on Gardner, and he's given it to his attorney, and I'm assuming we're not gonna hear from this guy, so
Right.
it went certified mail, he has it.
At some point, there's one that we have to think about whether we want to start to impose a fine, because we've been going back and
Right.
forth for a bit.
Right.
I do believe the neighbor's been impacted somewhat by what he did. It's gonna get murky because the town's got a drainage ditch there and some other stuff, so it's not gonna be clear, but the fact remains that he went and cleared a good-sized area. It appears to me like they put a drain pipe in,
He filled too. There's
and they
a lot of
filled,
fill.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I
so-
think maybe we should just implement a fine.
Yeah, we said that in the letter, we said, you know, get in touch with us, we'll start fining you, so, in the enforcement on it, so. We'll
Yep.
give him, you know, we'll give him a period of time, I think probably has a week or so by right before he gets back to us or so.
Okay,
And then on the denial, we haven't heard whether that's been appealed to the courts yet.
right,
But First Parish, I don't know what's going on.
yeah.
We'll just sit and wait and smile.
Yeah,
But that's almost exactly 10 days, isn't it?
it would be, yeah, we did it on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
We sent it out.
But you actually didn't
approved
send
it.
the
You
You
letter
wouldn't have sent it
until
till
Friday.
Thursday or Friday,
Right, Friday.
so it's been 10 days.
You approved that under the state bylaw, Protection Act, and denied it under the local, they have 60 days.
Oh,
That's what I
60 days local?
Oh, that's right.
That's what I said, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, so we get a lot longer to wait before we know whether we
Yeah.
did anything, okay.
I won't stay up. Does the town have any more repair work or cleanup work or anything to do from the storm?
I mean, there was a lot of talk about now all the debris, the plastic and the styrofoam and all the stuff that's out there getting piled up all around, especially around Hummerock on the corners of streets. And I haven't talked to Al in a couple of weeks, but originally said they're gonna try to get out, now that they've got the sand off the streets, that'd be something they wanna get a handle on before those mounds become filled with stuff. And start putting water heaters out and everything else.
Okay. Well, it's gonna take a little time, but the more they can get that stuff picked up, I think I said at the last meeting, but it certainly, what I saw in places where there's overwash and everything, sometimes our orders seem a little over the top or, extreme, but when you see all this stuff that's been washed into the street or across into the marsh or whatever, to say to people, you've gotta secure your shed or put all this stuff up or whatever, isn't it not an unreasonable,
Right.
especially when you start having to dodge it when you get on the,
Todd was saying that, when we wrote the conditions for 55 Seaside there, that, to make it stand out in every order, nothing goes underneath those pilings. They can't be picked up, before a storm, you don't leave your gas grills and everything else down there that
right.
attached to something, they just get washed away.
Anything else on,
We have the Wednesday night, we have the
So-
meeting with.
yeah, if any of you can make it, I went out last Friday and saw the presentation that the students did for their professors, and there's other alumni and people in the profession sort of critique their work or grade them. And it's kind of neat because, so they have an opportunity to tweak their presentation before they bring it to us, so it's only gonna get better. But I'll tell you, there's some stuff that I've walked around that woods for all those years, and they pointed out some things that I never would have.
You just walk by it.
Yeah, it's cool. And so they'll start Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the Mount Hope Building, and it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of information there, and it's gonna be a good start for us to think about our parking and trails, and they've got some great, handicap access, they've got some good ideas for that. And then
I look forward to it.
uses for the property, I think it'll be fun for us to use that, and not only to use it at Crosby, Bates Lane, but also Hubble, or we can even think about taking some of those pieces and decide how we wanna do that at the Driftway or somewhere else, and then maybe at some point, if we really like this, we could ask them to take another look at a couple of our places and see. They would love to come back and study our seawalls and the impacts.
Really?
Yeah. I had another project in mind, and they said, yeah, that's fine, but what we'd really like to do is see if you guys were interested, and from a different perspective. I mean, what are people gonna do that can't rebuild? What happens with some of the real severe damage, the impacts on the town? And they really take a total look at, from what it does to your tax base, it's really,
I was impressed by the way they went about it.
yeah, I think you will be with the results. And I think it'd be something that we might encourage the selectmen and town administrator to think about. We can, with all the storm damage, we can certainly just sit back and wait for people to bring a project in,
Yeah.
and we can condition it or deny it or whatever. Or we could be part of a proactive thing to think about what
We've talked about this for years.
is gonna, be done. And I think we're, Pat's mentioned trying to reach out to DEP about the issues in Humrock and whether or not they'll take a second look at any of the issues that are going on. Have you gotten any response back, or have you?
Yeah, no, we haven't written to, I talked to Jason, we're gonna meet with him on Thursday.
Okay.
Jason Burton, but I was gonna write up something that I'd give to you guys first as a draft, but just, if the septics and the roads and everything's getting wiped out, there's gotta be something better than telling people, well, nothing we can do, good luck, so.
We have, especially with the 280s there on Central Ave, where some sections of old seawall, and it probably wasn't a great seawall, but there was something there, and that got removed when they put these houses on piles, but it's a funnel for water to wash right through, and it just rips out their septic, and it's undermining the road. And, whether or not the state will look at any other alternatives in those areas is worth certainly a discussion. At least we can say we've made an attempt to see what they'd be interested in.
And they would be able to find out what other communities might have done or researched, and they may be perfect.
Right. Well, you see some of these places where houses are just eroding away and they're not changing it, so not gonna hold out all hope that they'll.
Well, I wouldn't expect much action from them. Like I said to Frank, if you go and tell somebody they can put riprap in front of their pilings to protect their septic, I'll be surprised if the state says a word about it. Because they tend to just kinda, unless we do something really egregious.
Well, but coming up with an overall concept of what's going on, and, where the private is, where the public is, and different approaches that we could use. There are a lot of places where you've got seawall and revetment and dune,
Well, I think it's great. I'm saying, what are you gonna do when you get done tasking the state and they do nothing? Right, yeah.
Well, if we came up with the plan,
Right.
But I
That's what
think-
I'm saying,
submitted
yeah.
it, if we denied it, then they could appeal it to the DEP and then
Right.
get a definitive answer,
yeah, right.
if
When-
we denied the town's project.
Well, it might not be a town project, it might be individuals. Do you recall, maybe last fall or last summer, there was a couple of people that came in for revetment work, and we sort of looked at them individually, and if it was one home between two seawalls, we really had no problem with allowing that person a revetment. We got to one place where the seawall revetments had ended, and then there was a stretch that was dune, and there was some of the dune that was washing away. and they wanted to continue the revetment, and we said, well, you know, this has really turned to a dune, so no, we're not gonna allow the seawall to continue. In the 280s there, you've got a section where there is revetment and seawall to the north and to the south, but it's a fairly wide opening. It's not, maybe it's 5 or 6 lots, if I'm right. You know, so it's not just 50 feet, it's a few hundred feet. But it's still a hole between 2 pieces of revetment, or 2 pieces of seawall, and that's where all the water
But
really.
then we had the guy down there, Wrexham, that it's 2 lots are the only lots not armored, and we
Right.
didn't allow them to
Right,
do anything. It's a,
so we gotta think about some of that and decide.
I just wanted to make one point, that you are talking about the roads being undermined and everything. And if you go down Glades Road, down Minot, down the end there is a seawall, there is revetment in front of the seawall, and that's a pretty tall seawall. That's where the road, and it has happened numerous times. This was not the first time, it won't be the last. Everything got lifted up there, everything was exposed. And on top of that is natural barriers in front of there, the big rocks left here a million years ago. So it's almost like if Mother Nature, if she wants to come through, I mean, that's a pretty protected area.
Right.
When you stop and think of it.
But I think,
Still has done tremendous damage down
but,
there.
but the area around the 280s, we're seeing damage occur on storms much less than the
Yes.
blizzard. You know, this
You're
is,
right.
this is a
It's
pretty
just that
regular
I don't,
occurrence now.
you know,
The one
You have tide, just regular high tides
Tides
that'll
that'll-
go through there. We got
you know,
11-foot tide at the end of this month. It'll go through there again.
Right.
yeah.
But the advantage of
I
somebody
suppose
like
change.
Conway is that they don't have a particular axe to grind relative to the Concom or DEP or anything, and they could do an overall thing.
They're not gonna be doing a design to get a permit.
No.
What they're gonna do is look at the issues
Have a look at the
and,
study, have the study done.
yeah, and say, you know what, in these places, you're gonna have to think about, you know, whether you're raising the road, or, and what are the impacts if you don't, you know, what,
And-
so,
And they may have some engineering people that could.
Yeah, it's more of a-
involved.
planning and landscape school, but yeah, certainly making some recommendations. So that's what their director was very interested. I mean, seeing ocean level rise and what's gonna happen with that is something that they'd like to.
And that's something that we can't address.
But I think if we have some information on that, as people are coming in and looking for conditioning in different projects, we can say, well, here's some of the information we have, and this might be helpful for you to think about it.
Yeah, Laura's also looking into an open space plan through the planning board, and they'll put that out to bid for a group to take that on. Maybe Conway School would be a logical group to get that.
Yeah.
Do the consulting on the open space plan.
We could ask,
They got a foot in the door and they're looking at that side of town. so.
we could certainly ask about it. Okay. And then I got a couple of emails. I got one from Howard Matthews, or a couple of them. He's been out through the trails on Bates Lane and Clap Road, and in most cases, it cleared out pretty well, but there is one area that's got some really heavy pines down, and he's,
We need to make help. Some young bodies.
out there. I've been crazy busy in the last few weeks, but I usually walk out there anyway, but I haven't been out there.
Well, Howard, said, you know, he just needs help.
Yeah.
There's some areas, it's almost like a microburst went through and the pine trees just went every which way.
Yeah.
And he needs somebody, he needs to maybe chainsaw out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
he
needs
might-
Bodies to move it.
well, he is saying that he's got a lot of it under control, and he's got a couple people in mind that are gonna help him with that, but certainly if we could
I'll get
touch.
out there. Just,
You know, he's gonna be at the thing Wednesday, so
Yeah,
if you're
I'll
happy,
Season
I'll
off.
talk to him.
I just
I'll
would,
talk to him Wednesday.
yeah, make sure that he's got in mind how he wants to deal with it. But he's got around to most of them, and then he's talked to someone that was at Ellis, and he's already got out and said most of Ellis is fine. So at least in those areas, pretty good.
Yeah, I just hate to leave it all on Howard and Nancy.
The storm hit, it's like,
God,
we're
no,
not
I,
going for work as well.
I hear you, he loves to go out there, but
He
it's
does.
at the point now that there is an area that he really could use help.
But we appreciate all that effort, because it's great.
Howard is wonderful.
What else were we,
Appleton?
The Appleton Field,
oh, yeah. Actually, part of the thing that you'll hear on Wednesday is a pretty positive feedback about the work that's being done there. I know that Vinnie's anxious to get his license renewed so that he can order his pieces, and it also impacts his income tax filings. So, the only concern that I have is that we make it clear to him that he's gonna have to use the new access when that's constructed.
okay, I have another concern, okay? It is a large field, and I want Vinnie to do what he's doing, he's done a wonderful job. But I'm just starting to wonder if there have been other people that have inquired about, you know, doing something out there, farming in that field. And let's face it, over 3/4 of it is kind of just sitting idle. So I was just wondering if it's right for us to license the whole field or just the section that he is actually working and see if some other people wanna.
Well, he's cleared, he has the piece that he's planted, and then he's got
Yeah.
another whole section that he's cleared. So I certainly wouldn't encourage anybody to take away a piece that he's already gone through the effort of clearing.
No, I'm not saying that, but it
So-
is a huge field, and it's
Right.
just, I'm wondering
Well,
where it
he's
is
clear.
public property, that should it be monopolized where it isn't all being used? You know, Vinnie can only use so much.
Well, right now, we don't have access to that other than the
That's
road
right.
that goes in now. So I think it's a little premature to
Well,
have
it-
anybody else use it. Our license is for 3 years. The other thing, if anybody else is gonna use it, I think it's the responsible thing for the commission to do is make sure that they're gonna do it by organic farming.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Which the license says all that.
Right.
It's.
No, but I think I've been asked by a couple other people that were interested as well, but they have no interest in doing it organic, you know?
Well, I know some that are interested in that, and I'm just saying, because it is public land, I don't wanna take anything away from Vinnie. But I just feel as though it's such a huge piece of property that, and I'm not saying this time around, I know we have to get the roadway in and so forth.
When's the road gonna be done?
We don't even own the property yet, we're still waiting for land court for the Crosby piece, so that might be done.
When does his
I don't
license
think it's a good
expire?
idea. It expired on January 4th.
Oh, it's expired
It's
already.
I don't think we should open up any competition for him up there, that's not right. I think if the town itself wanted to get into farming and use our property, that's a whole nother story than telling him that we can let other farmers go up there.
Well, with all due respect and he has done a heck of a lot in clearing a lot of that property. He is only using a small portion of it. And admittedly, one guy can't use an awful lot if you're doing it organically and you're not using machinery and all that kind of stuff. But it's a large piece of property. And I didn't realize that his license is expired, which does put kind of a kink in the deal. But, I mean, I think that had it not expired, we should have allowed other people to come in and make presentations in one thing and another. I mean, just because, you know, he has that steel pipe in the middle of the
Which
road.
it probably shouldn't be there, but it's.
Exactly. But, you know, that's, I mean, that doesn't have to be there if we were to allow somebody to do something on another part of that property.
What's the process for applying for that?
Well, I think that's something that we'll have to look at in the future and say, all right, we're gonna take, proposals, we'll get RFPs for the field. I think given the circumstances where we are right now, we still don't have an access piece. I wouldn't be in a huge rush to clear that whole field. I mean, right now, you can show people examples of like an emerging forest or different pieces in the back part of that field. You know, the undergrowth and stuff is a different habitat for, you'll be amazed at what you hear on Wednesday. I mean, just the outlook of land in different transitions.
Well, see, I was thinking that part of that on the south end could be used, you know, you could pile things and maybe see if we could get quail back in the.
Without,
you know,
right.
I think that's.
And do things like that.
Yep.
In other words, do something with it rather than, if you will, leaving it fallow.
Right.
Which is sort of what he's doing.
Well, he's cleared a piece, pretty good size area, and he's left a piece that, somebody must have cleared it. I mean, I remember it being a cornfield, and now it's grown up into all this brush and
Yeah.
underbrush.
Yeah, they cleared a lot with the pigs.
Yeah.
Being perfectly honest.
We cleared a lot, but a section was always cleared, because I know before Carl passed away, we went out there. And before we purchased, well, the year that we were purchasing that.
Yeah.
Property with CPC money, which was basically 11 years ago now. And it was semi-cleared part of it. It wasn't completely overgrown. Like I said, I want Vinnie to have his farming area, but I do think we, like Tony said, we need to start thinking about, that's a huge field. Other uses out there. It is public property, and a lot of people, like I said, I've had 4 people that are interested, and I'm not saying to let them have competition out there.
Well.
But there are other uses that could be going on out there, along with him doing his farming in his corner. And then, like you said, maybe get wheels.
Is there a way that could be written to license it to him, but require him to work with other people if, and this is very vague, and I'm sorry, I can't.
It says that we retain the right to access, the public has free and unrestricted use and access to the trails on this land between sunrise and sunset.
Yeah, right, and but that's all.
So then what you're saying is to
Next
allow.
time you renew it, maybe delineate it more specifically and what's gonna be cleared, what's gonna be used, maybe
Or
something like
just
that.
add something along the lines of that the town reserves the right to access the land and use the land for its own benefit.
I mean, he's, along with this piece, he's got a whole forestry management
Yeah,
plan for this
which-
whole piece of
yeah.
property.
Yeah. So there's supposed to be the Bobo Link stuff, and when he cuts the field is supposed to be only done at a certain time for the hay, so that those birds can nest in the ground.
I just think you're gonna be hard pressed to find somebody that's gonna take it as seriously and do that.
Oh, I'm not
I
saying that, but.
agree with that, I totally
Yeah.
agree with that,
It's
especially.
Just, but like you said, there are some parts that aren't even cleared, and we might wanna, like Tony said, make a little preserve or something. I don't know.
I think that you should get, they
But
have,
I don't
if you
wanna
get, if you get,
Get ourselves closed in.
if you get a copy of Outdoor Life magazine, right, it's a
Yes.
hunting magazine, and in the
Okay.
back, they have little ads, you can get an incubator with quail eggs.
Ooh, I would be more than happy to do that.
And you ought to try,
I'll
and
do
then we
that.
can have a little covey of quail
Yeah.
under the,
For them to go shoot up.
Yeah, I was just saying, we'll follow you around when you set them up.
Oh, you have to.
Not my quail.
Forget about it.
Yeah, not the ones you incubate. Yeah, we'll know which ones those are
I
out
don't
in the
know.
field.
I mean, you
Just the
know,
wild ones.
but that also brings up the question, this coming season, because the property has not been purchased, the Crosby property, are we going to, will there be issues again this season for him to get in there on the existing?
I think that he has, that's the only piece that I think that we might put some sort of amendment to, he's gonna use the access until we supply a new access, and at that time, he relinquishes the use of the old.
Okay, I don't wanna see that start up again.
Right, neither do I.
Yeah.
And he and I have had that discussion. Because I don't, I mean, certainly don't wanna foul up, wrapping up the purchase of the Crosby property, and when we're done with
know.
that,
Yeah,
I don't want a problem.
I know.
So, and we have to make sure that we've got that worked out correctly, because the day that we close on Crosby, I don't wanna find out that we don't have access to that field anymore till we build a new road.
That's what I'm a little nervous about,
So we're all being watchful of that,
yeah.
all right? But it's, maybe there should be something in that license that refers to that.
We could shorten it just to 2 years.
Well, I think it's fine to leave it for the 3 years. It gives them the
Because
opportunity.
to be honest with you, Todd, it's gonna be.
It's gonna be a while, it's fine.
At least a couple before that road,
I-
I bet, gets in.
My only suggestion is that we should probably raise the rate, and I don't mean to be mean, but $1 an acre.
You know what? It's not
With
making a.
inflation, I know, but still, I mean, you're right, unless we raise it to $100 each acre, it wouldn't make a difference, so
There's
leave
some-
it at $1.
There's some places where you have to look at what people are using the property, how they're willing to use it,
Yeah.
what kind of steward they are.
And the cost of running an organic farm is actually prohibitive to most farmers, which is why there's a lack of availability of organic produce, because it's just cost prohibitive.
At some point, if this field across the way fills up and we don't have enough room for all the people that are interested in the plot,
Which has happened,
then we could talk about setting aside a piece of that.
yeah.
And, but, you know, then you have watering issues and.
Oh,
all
yeah, well,
kinds of-
that's something that, yeah, no.
If we could just put verbiage in the new license that would allow that kind of tweaking later on, I think that would.
I mean, it's a shame that he doesn't actually take it and we allow him to almost sublease stuff.
Yeah,
If he's
right.
getting it for short money and he can get a couple of bucks and set up a piece of property and then help other people do some farming.
Can I tell you, he did try to do that.
Yeah, I don't,
It didn't go too far.
no, I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
he's
it-
probably not the right person for
It,
that.
he approached people and.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, everything's not
No,
without
I know.
some pitfalls.
I know.
Mr. Bjorklund?
Yeah, could I just suggest that if you renew the license with him, that you're upfront with him, and you tell him that the next time this comes up for renewal, the commission wants to be open to some new ideas for the field, so that he doesn't think this is just gonna be an automatic thing because he's done the work. I mean, he's been there for years and years. You're right, he's doing a great job, he's doing more work than anybody would ever do up there, but it is town property, and I think you should have something in the new lease that says, you know, in 3 years, we want a chance to look at this with some other people. And then at least he's got a heads up, and it's not like you're concerned that if you do this, you're gonna harm him in any way. He's had plenty of notice that, you know, the commission is looking at other things, whether
We're
it's
not
splitting it up
looking
or.
to take his.
No, it's
away from
understandable,
him.
we just
We're
want to give him a
looking
heads up,
of a
long
option.
before
But we,
on what's
yeah,
gonna happen.
you're right, and we do have an obligation to the town to take RFPs and
Yep.
see if
Yeah, that's
anybody.
why I was asking what the-
Absolutely.
What the process was for applying, because it's on the table, it's town property.
Right.
Anyone can apply, and we have to respect that, so.
Yep.
it's not-
And we would have to do that for anything else, you know, whether it was a, okay.
That'd be fair to him and give him a few more years of
Yeah.
doing what he's doing.
Pat, when you find yourself in the office with a couple of minutes, why don't you? You and Carol can work on that.
Sounds like a tricky one.
To give him a heads up, that's all.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Will he be there Wednesday night?
Yeah.
So do we want to
Don't
vote
bring it
that
up
we
then, no.
will renew his lease?
With some amendments.
And some amendments. I make a motion that we renew for 3 years Vinnie Bucher's license for the Appleton Field with some revisions on that license.
Probably primarily for the access, but also for the piece of giving him some notice that we will be doing some sort of RFP at a future license, and look for some alternative uses in the field. All right?
Okay.
Fair enough?
That sounds good. Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
I'd second that.
And work on that quail thing.
I will.
I'll work on the
You know what? I would love to
Looking
do
for a good
something.
quail harvest in about 3 years.
I would love to do
36
something
months.
like that. That would be fun.
Maybe some pheasant too. while you're doing it.
Anybody else?
This is for, this is actually for Mr. Buca. It was,
Most states treat them as
certainly doesn't.
But they're not.
The Department of Agriculture has a thing where they'll help farmers get these houses for next to nothing.
Really?
What's the house?
They call it a high tunnel. It's a type of like a greenhouse, but he has rights to have a hoop house on the property. This is a hoop house that the USDA will help subsidize if he applies for it. I brought it back from the conference thinking
Does
of
he
him.
live in the hoop house?
Did you go to that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. I'm done. I finished all 8 units of the fundamentals for conservation commissioners.
Wow.
Promoted.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, does that make you a commissioner?
Those people are amazing. I'm,
We're gonna
I
put you
get
in
my
for a
head bit off
raise.
for this
We're gonna put you in
sometimes,
for a
but
raise now.
the Wetlands Protection Act creates a lot of jobs. It really does. I mean, as much as you might not like it, it creates a lot of jobs.
What do you mean, not like it?
I
think we
I
sit
said
up
it to
here
some
and
guy
not like it.
at the gym, and he freaked out. He was like he did not like it. He was angry at me. He still gives me dirty looks to this day.
Well, give him
Yeah,
back.
it's funny. Yeah, I know. Well, but it does. Like the engineers, I mean, for septics,
Oh, what?
I don't know. I think it's great.
We both went to Jim O'Connell's presentation too.
Which, in terms of the DPW piece, some of the stuff they were talking about with they're taking the
Did you go to that?
the coconut shells and the rolls, and they're pre-planting them with high marsh grasses and low marsh grasses, and putting them kind of in between and seeing which ones will take. And I'm just thinking to myself, maybe on the opposite side of Central Ave, we offer some vegetated rolls to stabilize the marsh side, help it. You know how they keep talking about the moving marshes, moving landward? Give them some places where we're willing to let it move landward with the vegetation and then build the road higher. Because revetments, it'll save their septics, but it's not gonna save the road unless it's higher. I mean, let's face it, the ocean's coming faster than we can repair that road.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of January 9th, 2013. That's written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Really nice job on those minutes, Carol.
Yeah.
Seriously, those were good ones.
They were,
Yeah?
yeah.
I'm not being sarcastic.
No, I know you're not, because I sat and read them.
I love that he
I
has
did
to
too.
do
No,
the
they were.
disclaimer with the compliment, yeah.
It is. I have, oh,
The Marine Park, are you feeling like you're getting somewhere near the,
Yeah, okay. Right with Mark Patterson and Mark Anginello, who's the wetland person over there.
Yeah.
And they have to report to the Army Corps, I think this month. But some of the plantings they did got washed out, and then with the storm, things don't look very good. So they're asking that we wait about a month before submitting the next report in there. And they have a whole area they're gonna have to replant. And I think that he thought that it would take, a lot of it, he said a lot of it looked pretty good. But then with this latest storm, it all looks like hell, but it's not, it's not the growing season yet, so
yeah.
but the big thing was too, is the area that they said that they were gonna have to replant, with salt marsh, the area they're doing that isn't as big as what shows on the plan, so there was some kind of miscalculation. So they're gonna come back and say, I know we said we're gonna be 10,000 square feet or whatever, but there's only 8,000 square feet of area, so we have to come up with something else. They may do something off-site.
okay,
He's gonna send his draft report to us.
okay. That one will end someday. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, we had mentioned back in January when we talked about the Stevens Farm to revisit that, and it's getting close to, the stockpiling is right at the woods, there's nothing around it, and I think maybe this is an opportune time. Some of us, with you, Pat, to go out and just look before they do start spreading that stuff around, and just get that squared away. They get themselves into a pickle there with those piles of dirt that don't belong down at the tree line. And I did talk to the assessor's office, and when that became a building lot, it is completely out of 91. That is not farming land anymore, the lot back there. He said it's either or, and they're building, so it is not considered farmland in that 50-foot buffer. So maybe, you know, in the next week, you, myself, and anyone else that would like to go out there. and just Take a look, I mean, they might be fine, but I think we need to look at it before. Planting season's here.
Any day good for you, any particular day?
Any day's fine for me.
Thursday maybe?
I won't be here next week,
This week?
before Friday,
Thursday, everybody?
Thursday after 10.
Good for you, Todd.
I can probably go Thursday, you just have to let me know.
Okay. I can do any time after 10:30.
This coming
On Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah?
I thought something else was Thursday or Friday, Carmen.
Yeah, going to
Yeah, we
Hummer
haven't got
Rock.
a time yet, but
Okay,
it's
so-
possible that it could be Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, the Hummer Rock thing is
The Hummerock is more important.
Yeah.
All right, go for that this week, and then this was Stevenman next week.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, whatever day, I mean, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm kind of,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if you can do something this week, I guess I could try and go.
Let me know when you're going to Hummerock.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I don't think I've made a pilgrimage down there this year yet.
I'm sure you want to.
Put your face down.
Let you guys go first.
That's too bad, Thomas.
Okay. All right, anything else?
I don't think,
Motion to close?
I heard that.
I make a motion to go home.
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Enforce an order for 28 Otis.
I'll
Second,
second that.
after we re-adjourn.
Yeah, right.
All in favor? Reconvene. Thank you, Stephen.
That was just a practice.
I make a motion to close.
Second.
We've done that. All in favor?
Thanks.